They say in this world of professional wrestling that sometimes things are just never meant to end. And Cody Rhodes being in the Bloodline vortex since WrestleMania 39 season cannot escape the Bloodline vortex. Whether it's Roman Reigns, it's Solo Sikoa, it's Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, he cannot escape. We got Cody Rhodes in the Bloodline vortex again tonight on Smackdown with a main event of him teaming up with Jey Uso to take on Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, which nobody is going to be talking about the match because afterwards, Solo Sikoa returns for the first time in about a month and he lays out the WWE champion. And I'm going to say, are we really about to get another match on pay-per-view between Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes after they've already feuded this past summer? We really got to revisit this again? Not a fan of it. Not a fan of it at all. I will let it play out next week, but my initial thoughts, I'm not a fan of this. I'm just not. So we got Smackdown to talk about, and really quickly, before we get into Smackdown, we've got WWE releases to talk about, as WWE has let some people go this past week, including most of them tonight. So, this week, we might as well jump right into this. This week, WWE let go of Duke Hudson from Chase Hugh on NXT, Cedric Alexander, Paul Ellering, the Authors of Pain, Blair Davenport, and Sonya Deville. All of them have been let go from the WWE. And, none of them had been really used on television that much. The Pure Fusion Collective with Sonya Deville was an absolute dud. With her, Zoe Stark, and Shayna Baszler, no one cared whatsoever. Blair Davenport never got a chance on the main roster. And I'm just going to say this now. If you don't have a plan for NXT talent, if you call NXT talent up to the main roster and you don't have a plan for them, what's the point of bringing them up to the main roster if you have no plans for them? That's just absolutely, I don't get that at all. I don't get that at all. Paul Ellering and the Authors of Pain, it is what it is, man. It sucks that they got hired back a year ago just to get fired once again a year later. You got to feel bad for them. It's a shitty situation. But the Final Testament, they reached their peak last year at WrestleMania 40 in that street fight with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. And they have not been the same since. And they were a failed faction after that feud with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. They had no potential at all, and they got let go. Cedric Alexander has been used properly since the Cruiserweight Classic, you can argue. The one guy that got let go that I'm really baffled with the most is Duke Hudson. And here's why. I'm going to admit it now. I don't watch NXT religiously. I don't keep up with NXT religiously. I don't know every talent on NXT. I'm still trying to know, like, for an example, I'm still trying to learn who the hell Eddie Thorpe is because he's in the main event scene feuding with Trick Williams and Obafemi. I'm trying to learn about a lot of guys in NXT, but I've been keeping up with it the best that I can. And from what I did know, Chase University got really over. And of course, they were over at the Performance Center. But then when they went away for pay-per-views on the road, Chase University was still over with the crowd. Now, they did not wrestle on the show, the Stand and Deliver show from last year in Philadelphia, so I didn't get to see them live. But hearing them on television, they were over. And I just don't understand this, that, they ran their course in NXT and they were never given a chance on the main roster. And there are fans on social media, on Twitter, that would say, oh, Chase University's never going to get over on the main roster. How would you know that? How do you know that? You put them in front of 10,000 people, 9,000 people in NBA big arenas for NXT pay-per-views, and they got over. So, even if they don't get over, you call them up to the main roster, you give them 6 months to see if they can get over with the audience, and you give them good plans, and if they don't get over with the main roster audience, then you let them go. But they just disbanded the group who was really over. They didn't even give him a chance on the main roster. And after they disbanded the group, they just let Duke Hudson go. They just let him go. I find that's wild. So, I just want to see. Okay, so I'm on Twitter now. This was 5 minutes ago. This is not anything WWE related, but this is AEW related. AEW sources expected several within the Hurt Syndicate to push for Cedric Alexander to be in the company. So if Cedric Alexander signs with AEW, he's already going to have a role with the Hurt Syndicate. So out of all the talent that got released, I can see Cedric Alexander going to AEW and being with the Hurt Syndicate. And that report that I just read you came from Fightful, which I think that would be awesome for Cedric Alexander. I do. So we will get into Smackdown. I thank you guys so much for joining me here tonight. Be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Field channel. We've had ourselves a week following the Royal Rumble. Kind of like I don't want to say a shorter week, but like kind of a more relaxed routine week here on the Big Fight Field channel. Raw, AEW, and Smackdown, and we call it a week here. Plus, it's Super Bowl weekend. So, after this podcast tonight, I'm just going to chill, relax, get ready for the big game on Sunday. So, without further ado, if you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and check out those Raw and AEW podcasts that I did this week. Raw was a good show. Dynamite was a really good show. And for the most part, Smackdown was good. There was some stuff that I did not like on this show tonight, which I will talk about. And for the most part, though, the show was fine. Overall, it was fine. The third hour was really hard to get through. That third hour always feels like a drag. But that's what they got from now until at least June, I think. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and get into the show. It opened up with Jey Uso, your 2025 Men's Royal Rumble winner. This was basically, I would say, this was basically the same exact segment on Monday, except tonight it was with Cody and not with Gunther. He did the crowd did the whole one more time thing. They replayed the music. They did the yeet. I feel like that's going to be a weekly thing now, a part of Jey Uso's music. The crowds are going to be chanting one more time. They're going to play it again and again and again. I just feel like it's going to be a weekly thing with Jey Uso. But he deserves it because he's awesome. He's worked his ass off. And saying that he's over at this point is an understatement. Saying Jey Uso is over is such an understatement. It's fucking obvious he's over. He is... I don't even know what word I would use. He is, like, the most over wrestler in the industry right now. And that is quite obvious. So Cody comes out and he congratulates him. And he says he went through a hard, brutal ladder match with Kevin Owens. And he visited the doctor on Tuesday. And he said that the doctor said that he had a damaged elbow, something with his hip. But he said the difference between me and my doctor is that I'm the WWE champion. He's not. I have a WrestleMania main event to defend this championship at. And he already says that this year is going to be the most important WrestleMania of his career because not only is he walking into it as a champion and potentially main eventing, but he says in order to solidify this title reign for me, I need to win the main event of WrestleMania and keep the WWE championship. So he says, before you make your decision, we can have fun one more time here tonight in Memphis. Because if you pick me, it's going to be business. And Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, they interrupt. And Jacob gets on the microphone. He's talking trash to Cody. And he says, he calls Jey Uso the Yeet Man. He says, I want to talk to the Yeet Man. I want to talk to my cousin. He says, this family can hold championship gold. And this family does need the WWE championship back. But you for sure are not that person to win the WWE championship. So, Jey super kicks Tama. Fatu super kicks Jey. Fatu and Cody are brawling. Tama and Jey get back in the brawl. And Jey and Cody have Fatu and Tama Tonga retreating. And that's your main event tonight, is Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso against Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu. Of course, we all know what happened. It's set up for the closing angle of the show tonight, which we will get to. We had our first qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber. Bianca Belair versus Piper Niven. These two have really good chemistry. Really good chemistry. Good match here. Bianca, the story of this match was Bianca was trying to lift up Piper for the KOD, but she couldn't. And then Piper went for her finisher, but Bianca moved. She got Piper to the top rope. The story of this match was Bianca could not get Piper up for the KOD. She eventually did. She lifted her up from the turnbuckle, hit her with the KOD, and she pinned Piper Niven. So Bianca Belair, she's going to Elimination Chamber in what was a good match. DIY came out for their promo, and this was it. This was easily the worst thing on the show tonight. And it's just a continuation of how bad Triple H has been booking the tag team division on SmackDown. So we obviously got that shitty finish at the Royal Rumble with the Street Profits. That horrible explanation by Michael Cole of why that finish happened. And what did they follow up with tonight on SmackDown? They followed up with the tag team champions losing in a 7-minute match in their street clothes to a comedy tag team. All of this sucked. So they're cutting their promo. They want to hold a moment of silence for the Motor City Machine Guns, as they will be no longer challenging for the tag team titles. They advise people to stand up, take their hats off, and they get interrupted by Pretty Deadly, who say, a month ago, you said we could have a match with you guys anytime we want. So we are cashing that match in for tonight. So then Nick Aldis comes out, and this is just a shit show, man. Nick Aldis comes out and says, you know what? I think that's a great idea. But to earn that tag team title match, you have to beat the tag team champions in a non-title match. So it'll be Pretty Deadly against DIY right now. And DIY, they're dressed in street clothes. Pretty Deadly's got their gear on. This match goes on for about 7 minutes. And this finish made the tag team champions look so stupid. And this finish was so confusing because I have no idea if Pretty Deadly are baby faces or if they're heels. And this is honestly just a complete waste of time, because at the end of the day, Pretty Deadly has no chance of winning the tag team titles. So Ciampa rolls up Elton Prince and he grabs the rope, but Kit Wilson pushes Ciampa forward, and Elton Prince, he's got the roll up on Ciampa, and he grabs the rope, and they pin the tag team champions via roll up. They're supposed to be baby faces. They cheat the win, and the crowd sat on their hands and did nothing. The crowd sat on their hands and didn't react at all to any of this. They're just like, this sucked. And all of this garbage booking for the tag team champions. This made the tag team champions look bad. This made the tag team championships look bad. I couldn't say any worser things about this segment. This was bad. And all of this just for DIY to retain the tag team titles and for Pretty Deadly to go back and do the same thing they were doing before challenging DIY for the tag team titles, which is being a jobber tag team. Let's get on to some bigger and better things. We had Drew McIntyre, Jimmy Uso, and LA Knight for a Elimination Chamber qualifying spot. And Drew McIntyre's he's on Smackdown. He's moved over to Smackdown. He called Monday Night Raw a toxic environment ran by a bald-headed freak who didn't know what he was doing in Adam Pearce. He could finally come over to SmackDown to somebody who he's known for 20 years, and he can trust in a fellow Britishman in Nick Aldis. And Drew said that he could finally be himself. And Jimmy, so all three of them are basically coming out and cutting promos. And he said, he got in the ring and his line was, "I ain't living in the past. I'm right here in the present, about to kick your ass." This was when Drew Drew called Jimmy J. And he said, "Maybe you would be where Jay is right now if you said yeet first." And he said, "I can get the crowd to say yeet whether I say yeet or no yeet." So then he goes yeet, and then he goes no yeet. LA Knight comes out. He cuts his promo, so it does. I knew it. Drew McIntyre, the person he had beef with, was LA Knight. So it was a shoot that they turned it into a work for tonight, because they were actually brawling during the match. LA Knight called Drew McIntyre Drew McIntyre. LA Knight said, "I gotta get my stuff in." With Drew McIntyre saying that somebody has to get their moves in. Somebody else was worried about getting themselves over instead of getting the match over. So they did this really well. With the whole Drew McIntyre LA Knight thing. What they did tonight was a good job by them. They turned the whole thing, tonight at least, from a shoot into a work, and LA Knight and Drew McIntyre did a good job. This match was really good. This was easily the best thing on the entire show. I would go as far as saying that if you did not watch SmackDown tonight and you did not watch this match, I would go back and watch this match. This was probably the best match in WWE this week. I wouldn't say it was better than the Ricochet and Swerve match. I thought that match from Dynamite was freaking great. I thought this match was really good, though. A lot of creative spots. My favorite spot, though, was Drew McIntyre, or Jimmy was punching Drew McIntyre up on the top rope. Drew McIntyre, he gets hung up on the rope, upside down. While Drew McIntyre is upside down and Jimmy's sitting on the top turnbuckle, LA Knight does a spot where he jumps onto the top rope and suplexes the opponent. So LA Knight jumps on the top rope and he gets ready to suplex Jimmy Uso. But as he's going to suplex Jimmy Uso, Drew McIntyre sits up and he tosses. Now he's sitting on the top turnbuckle, and he gives LA Knight a German, while LA Knight gives Jimmy Uso a suplex from the top rope. So that spot was the spot of the match. Very creative from all three guys. And then Knight and Jimmy decides, you know what? We're just going to take out Drew McIntyre, and the match is going to come down to us two. So that's what they do. They take out Drew McIntyre for a little bit. And Jimmy, he gives LA Knight a super kick. He gives him another one. He goes to the top rope. He gives him a splash. And Drew McIntyre pulls the referee out of the ring. So Jimmy, he super kicks Drew, and he throws Drew over the announce table. He's going up to the top rope again, and this time, LA Knight gets his knees up. He rolls up Jimmy. Charles Robinson has to run in the ring. Counts two. Jimmy Uso kicks out. So Jimmy and LA Knight, they're going at it for a little bit. And LA Knight's getting ready to hit the BFT. And as LA Knight hits BFT, Drew McIntyre gives LA Knight the Claymore kick in the back of the head, pinning LA Knight. Drew McIntyre's going to the Elimination Chamber. So you remember how we were saying that this year's Royal Rumble was the most stacked Royal Rumble ever? Well, right now, it's looking like this year's Elimination Chamber is the most stacked men's Elimination Chamber match ever. So far, John Cena, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre. Love it, man. Absolutely love it. It was a really good match, too. Really good match. I would say, if you haven't, go out of your way and watch it. Carmelo Hayes and Tozawa. This was set up from the Royal Rumble when Carmelo Hayes got eliminated. Tozawa was making his way to the match. Carmelo Hayes hit Tozawa from behind. Tonight, Carmelo Hayes defeated Akira Tozawa. I honestly could not remember a time that Carmelo Hayes won a singles match on SmackDown. So, he won tonight. He won tonight. Alright. Let's get into this third hour. Let's do this. So, out comes Charlotte Flair. Okay. Out comes Charlotte Flair. She cuts her promo. She tries to get the crowd to woo and boo. It was so weird because Monday night she was cutting a babyface promo to a crowd that was booing her. She went on NXT and got cheered like a babyface. So she was cutting a babyface promo on Tuesday. So it's NXT. Of course they're going to cheer for her. And now tonight, she's getting 50-50 reactions from Memphis. And she's cutting a heel promo. She said, "I live rent-free in everybody's minds. I am wrestling's obsession. You're obsessed with my looks, my championships, my last name. You're obsessed with everything, Charlotte Flair." Sure. So out came Tiffany Stratton to a big pop. She congratulated Charlotte. She said there's a time where she idolized Charlotte when she first came to the WWE. And when Charlotte got injured, she didn't know how the WWE Women's Division would last without Charlotte Flair. But people only cared about you getting injured for about one day. Because there's new up-and-coming talented women like me. So she says that Charlotte says, "I never told you that you could speak." He says, "You talk when I let you talk, so you get in the back of the line." And Tiffany says, "I've been waiting in line my whole time since I've gotten up here. I've capitalized. You're the person who can wait in line. I'm at the top of the food chain." So then Nia comes out, and she says that she just spoke to Nick Aldis, And she says she's one step closer to becoming the new WWE Women's Champion. She said she just spoke to Nick Aldis, and she said that she doesn't have to qualify for the Elimination Chamber because she is getting a title match against Tiffany Stratton next week in Washington, D.C. So Charlotte says, this sounds interesting. I'll come back next Friday because this inspires me. So, a match that should have happened weeks ago at Saturday Night Main Event is happening 3 weeks later. Like then, I would have been like, okay, Nia just lost her title. She got betrayed in storyline. She deserves a rematch. But now it's like Nia lost to Rhea Ripley. Nia lost in the Royal Rumble. What the fuck did she do to deserve this match against Tiffany Stratton? In reality, they should have never done the Nia Jax Rhea Ripley match at Saturday Night Main Event. That match always should have been Nia Jax against Tiffany Stratton. So now they're doing this match next week, and it's a match where Nia did nothing to deserve it. Alexa Bliss is back, and she wrestled Candice LeRae in a qualifying match where she won. And she won with what Joe Tessitore called the Abigail DDT. So, I don't know. It was fine. The crowd liked it. The crowd was cheering for Alexa. It was fine. So now the women is Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, and Alexa Bliss. That's your women's Elimination Chamber match right now. We got a video package from the Street Profits who said, did you think y'all were just going to win the tag team titles with now coming back to us? He said, we are always going to be in your rearview mirror. We are coming for you. And they say, it's like a new Street Profits character that they needed. So, good for them. And I'm sure we'll be getting a match between them and Motor City Machine Guns pretty soon. The main event, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso against Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. The match meant nothing because of the post-match. So, Cody pinned Tama with the Crossroads. Great. The match started at 10:49 anyway. In the first minute, boom, commercial break. They came back at 10:53 for 6 more minutes of this match. So we got a 9-minute main event match between Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso against Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. This match meant nothing because after the match, Cody Rhodes is celebrating, and a man in the black hoodie runs in the ring and hits Cody Rhodes with the Samoan Spike. He takes off the hoodie, and it's Solo Sikoa. So the show ends with Solo Sikoa standing tall over Cody Rhodes, the former tribal chief. So, Solo's back. He's been gone since he wrestled Roman. Oh no, He's been gone since he walked out on Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga a couple weeks ago. And now he's coming back and getting a title match. And I don't like this. We've already been here before between Cody Rhodes and Solo. If Cody Rhodes has to have a title match at Elimination Chamber, why can't we test out new talent against Cody Rhodes? Put somebody like Carmelo Hayes in there against Cody. Put somebody in there like Andrade against Cody, or LA Knight, or whoever. Not Rey Mysterio. Whoever. The problem is that, and AEW has this problem too, it's the same cycle of guys challenging for the world title outside of a powerhouse Hobbs. It's the same guys challenging for the world title. And now it's the problem in WWE too, because we have to go back to Solo and Cody again. We just saw that match at SummerSlam. We just saw that match on the first Smackdown on the USA Network. Do we really need this match again? Do we really need to have Cody Rhodes feuding with the Bloodline going into Elimination Chamber again? I'm going to let it play out, and we'll see what happens next week. We'll see what Solo says, why he did what he did, but initial thoughts, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it at all. So, that's your SmackDown review. It was a fine show. There was some good, but there was also some bad in there as well. My job here is to tell the truth and speak with my honesty, and that's what I did tonight. So, before we get out of here, we shall run down some match cards happening on future shows. So, we got Raw on Monday, live from Nashville, and the only things that are advertised for the show is Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul, an Elimination Chamber qualifying match, and Lyra Valkyria against Bayley for Elimination Chamber qualifying match. I don't know what's going on NXT, so I can't do NXT. AEW they're taping the show in Austin, Texas on Tuesday, but it's airing on TBS on Wednesday so that they can fly out to Australia quicker. So there's a lot of shows going on next week. We got Raw on Monday, AEW on Wednesday, Dustin Rhodes versus MJF, and the Guns versus the Hurt Syndicate for the tag team titles. That's all they got advertised right now. SmackDown next week has Naomi and Chelsea Green, an Elimination Chamber qualifying match. Another Elimination Chamber qualifying match with Jacob Fatu, Braun Strowman, and Damian Priest. That match is going to be awesome. That match is going to kick ass. I'm excited. I'm very excited for that match. We have Legado del Fantasma versus the Motor City Machine Guns. Angel and Umberto against the Motor City Machine Guns. And Nia Jax versus Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. Now, next Saturday, we have a busy day. I have a busy day. I have a family outing on Saturday. I don't know what time yet. It's going to depend on not whether or not I do an NXT Vengeance Day review on Saturday is going to depend on what time I have a family outing. But on Saturday, we have NXT Vengeance Day, and we have AEW Grand Slam, which is going to air after the All-Star break. Or after the All-Star celebrity, whatever. Fuck. NXT Vengeance Day so far has Grayson Waller and Austin Theory against Obafemi for the NXT Championship. I think it's a triple threat match. I think it could be a handicap match, but I'm pretty sure it's a triple threat match. We have another triple threat match with Roxanne Perez, Bayley, and Julia for the NXT Women's Championship. Stephanie Vaquer versus Fallon Henley for the NXT Women's North American Championship. And Ethan Page versus Javon Evans. And then we have AEW Grand Slam next weekend in Brisbane, Australia. Toni Storm versus Mariah May for the AEW Women's Championship. I expect to be the main event of that show. We also have Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay against Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. We have Jon Moxley and Claudio against Jay White and Adam Copeland in a Brisbane Brawl. And we have Buddy Matthews challenging Okada for the Continental Championship. That's all the matches advertised right now for Grand Slam. So, we got a busy week next week here on the Big Five Field channel. And yes, I will be reviewing Vengeance Day and AEW Grand Slam next weekend. I just don't know when I'm going to be reviewing Vengeance Day. AEW Grand Slam is going to be Sunday. But if I have a family outing at night, the Vengeance Day review is just going to be in the same video as the Grand Slam. So you'll get a 2-for-1. But if not, then Saturday we will do NXT Vengeance Day. So I'm getting out of here. I will see you guys Monday night for Raw. Subscribe to the channel. And I'm out. Enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend. Peace!